on you right now?
Under threat?
Do you have Federal Reserve notes? I bet you have cash on you right now. So you do accept Federal Reserve notes, right?
You saying me?
Yeah, you.
I'm using them, but you don't have to.
But you are.
But you don't have to.
Okay, well these businesses use them too, just like you use them. They don't have to use this. You don't have to buy. In other words, otherwise you should come to work for me, and I'll just give you one of these pieces of paper every day.
Well, what are you quoting that they don't have to accept this?
I'm saying that.
You saying they can do what they want to do? House Joint Resolution says they can't.
That's not what.
That's what I'm quoting. I'm quoting.
How are you reading that in there?
I'm quoting. I listed House Joint. My whole basis is House Joint Resolution June 5th. That's a congressional act.
I understand that.
It's not personal.
And it talks about taking the gold away, and the government decided they were going to take gold away, and they were going to give you a Federal Reserve note. You may not like that, but that's what they use.
No, they gave you a remedy. When they took the gold, they gave you a remedy.
I don't think you're going to find anybody in the world that agrees with that.
Well, when you say agree,
okay.
No one's agreeing with the House Joint Resolution.
Okay, well, talk to Congressman, because the Congressman was made this, and they don't. That's not what they meant by this. If you think it is, then you can talk to them about it, because I don't think they're going to agree with that. That's not what the intent of this was. The intent was to take gold because we didn't have enough gold.
Okay, they took the substance money.
Right.
So what's your interpretation of House Joint Resolution?
That they took that and they gave you. You're right. It's a debt instrument against the United States government. They decided that there wasn't enough gold to go around.
So it's an obligation for a bankrupt corporation.
Yeah.
What do I have to do with that?
You can choose to accept it. You can choose not to accept it.
No, to use it. I'm not talking about me accepting it. I'm talking about businesses.
What I'm saying
corporations.
Is you can choose whether you want to accept. Somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, I want to give you, $50." You can choose to accept that, or you can choose to reject it. But these businesses have chosen that they were willing to accept that. They're willing to accept that debt. They understand that a $50 bill, a $100 bill against the government, it's against the good faith of the United States government. They're willing to accept that. If they don't want to accept it, they don't have to. They could say, this business right here, Cozy's could sit there and say, we no longer accept cash. I don't think they're going to get a lot of business, but they could choose not to. But once they decide to accept cash, that's what they choose. You, as a U.S. citizen, are allowed to choose to use cash.
I'm not a U.S. citizen.
Okay. You, as being here in the United States right now, you're allowed to use cash or not use cash as you wish.
I'm in North America. I'm not in the United States.
You are in the United States right now. You might not be
really?
a citizen, but you are in the United States, yeah.
Where's the United States? Isn't it a corporation?
No, it's not a corporation.
I'm quoting you.
Country.
February 25th, 1871 says the United States is in fact a corporation.
Okay. Well, you're inside the United States.
Am I in a corporation?
You are inside the property. If you want to call it a corporation, you're inside the territorial property of this corporation then. That's where you are currently located.
No, this person is within inside the corporation. I'm not in there.
Where are you?
Huh?
Where do you
I'm in North America. And I'm in my body, flesh and blood body. I'm not in the corporation.
Okay. Well,
what I'm saying to you is what you just quoted, that corporation can accept what they want. This policy doesn't say that.
Okay. What would you like me to do for you today?
No, I'm just trying to find out.
What would you like to do? Nobody's going to accept this piece of paper. I can't make it, just like you're not going to accept this piece of paper in exchange for your headdress or your shoes or your labor or your pants.
If I incorporated, I would.
You're not going to accept those things, but yet you are going to accept cash. If I gave you $100 right now, you might give me that pair of glasses, but you're not going to accept this piece of paper.
No, we're talking about when you incorporate as a business.
I'm talking about you as a person.
Uh-huh.
You are a person, right?
I'm a person, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad.
Flesh and blood person.
Flesh and blood.
This is a person too.
Okay, but I don't care about this. I'm talking about you right now. We're talking you.
Yeah,
I'm talking man to man to you. If I give you enough money right now, I'm pretty certain I could get something. Your shoes, your headdress, something that you own, you would give me for enough money. But I'm pretty sure you're not going to give me much of anything for this piece of paper.
Okay, no, question.
That's the way it is.
Question. You understand that when 33 came that...
Do you know this person?
This is what I'm saying to you. Because, the ignorance in North America is a reason why I'm not using this. I'm just asking you, do you understand that after 33, when you're born, your birth certificate, they make a artificial person that you become surety of? So, no, that person's in your United States corporation. I'm not in there. They made me surety for this unknowingly. So it's nothing weird here. When you ask me where I am, I'm in my flesh and blood body. You understand? You can't get in a corporation.
But you want to utilize the goods and services of this corporation.
Yeah, and I shouldn't have no problem to do with that. No, but through this
All you
entity.
do is you work, you get a job, you get money, and you go use any of the things that's good. That's the way this whole corporation is working.
But House Joint Resolution doesn't say that. What it's saying is,
the Congress made a whole bunch of rules
Mhm.
telling the Indians that we would give them a bunch of land, and then we took it back and ran them off the land, didn't we?
well, we know that it's a forked tongue, but
Exactly what I'm saying, my man.
is House Joint Resolution in effect or it's not? Not according to you. Are you quoting that it's been repealed?
I'm saying that,
Are you
that
saying
nobody is accepting that. Nobody.
they don't know what it is? They're ignorant of the fact because again, the IRS when you go start a business, have you started a business before? When you start a business, it would seem like the IRS or someone would let you know about this policy that debt instruments are not the only thing that discharge a debt. There's credit instruments. I'm just using a credit instrument. It's a credit instrument, but it discharges that obligation.
But just like when you go to like Cozy's here, right?
Uh-huh.
Cozy's, maybe they accept Visa, but they might not accept American Express. Now, Chef Polino, they might accept American Express, but they don't accept Visa. They have a choice to accept which credit and debit instruments they want. That's the way it is.
What you just named are both debt instruments.
What I'm saying, but they're different companies. This one might say credit. This one might say we'll only accept. I went to a gun store one time. I was trying to buy a gun. They wouldn't accept Citibank Visa. They accept any other Visa but Citibank because they didn't like Citibank. I couldn't use my Citibank card. That was their choice. They can choose which to accept and what not to accept.
But they're both debt instruments.
But they choose what they accept.
Money orders are debt instrument. Federal Reserve notes, credit cards, we're talking totally opposite. This is a credit instrument. The credit of the United States Treasury. This is a credit from the U.S. Treasury. And you tell me, see,
Credit. There is no credit.
Huh?
How can you have credit from a company, corporation that's bankrupt? You just said we're bankrupt, and you know what you are. We are bankrupt. We're several trillion dollars in debt. Obviously, there is no credit, so obviously it has to be debit.
from the gold. The gold was the substance.
We don't have enough gold to pay the $1 trillion deficit we're in.
What this did, in a nutshell, what this did, this took the people's right to the gold
Okay.
and took that, and in remedy, they gave you a credit with the
No,
government.
they gave you Federal Reserve notes in exchange for it. That's what they gave you in exchange for it.
But that's not what House Joint Resolution says.
Well, that's what they did. I don't care what it says. That's what they did.
So now I'm quoting you this.
I'm telling you that they didn't do that. They gave you Federal Reserve notes.
But this says it did.
Okay, try to use it. Go over there and try to go get yourself a salad with that.
But that don't mean it didn't say that.
But you wouldn't
know.
accept it either.
Huh?
But you wouldn't.
If I started a corporation and I was educated, I would.
You would not accept that.
Well, all I'm saying
How
is,
can you sell business? How would you eat? If you worked all day and you produced some kind of a good, whatever that good is, if people came in, all they did was give you this piece of paper all day long, how would you eat?
no, it's an accounting entry. It's just an accounting.
Okay.
This new money is nothing but debits going back and forth. It's not. It's not. The Federal Reserve note is nothing but an account.
Right.
The Federal Reserve manual says that.
But the Federal Reserve has no money.
But
you know that we don't. You know the bankrupt corporation.
Well, that's what I said. Money has turned into a digit. They just moving digits back and forth. So all I'm saying to you is, companies should have a liaison of an IRS there, or they should understand that this is part of the U.S. commercial market. This is not personal to me. I quote House Joint Resolution 192, June 5th, 1933. I never said, hey, accept this because I want you to, because I'm handsome with a hat. I never said that.
But
So I'm just trying to find out, how about the enforcement? Who do I go to? You all are into U.S. financial crimes, right?
there's no financial crime going on.
So I'm getting deprived of goods and services because they are really discriminating against a credit payment with the United States. They're discriminating.
You are.
Me?
You wouldn't. You're not going to take this in exchange for that hat, that headdress.
See, now you're putting me on the pin. I'm not Target, but I'm not Targets though.
You are discriminating against me.
No, I haven't rejected any instruments from you.
Well,
I haven't.
I've got this piece of paper. I don't see any good.
But the incident didn't happen. In other words, that happened. What you're talking about is speculative.
happened?
It's speculative.
I'm talking about I'd like you headdress, and I'd like you to go wash my car, and I'm going to give you this piece of paper.
That's not the same as me starting a Target store and offering product to people.
Well, it sounds like you have an argument with Target. You should go down to Target and argue with Target. If you don't think that you think they should accept that, then go into Target and say, I think you should accept this, and maybe.
Well, we talked. I asked for the manager, but I'm saying Target is governed by a congressional act. Is what I'm telling you. Why is there not enforcement against Target for denying this process to happen, denying this instrument?
Well, you have to take that up with the courts.
For the courts?
You want to take that for the courts? Go ahead. Now, Target is a French corporation, so I'm not sure how well that's going to work for you, but you're more than welcome.
A French corporation?
Yeah.
Wow. On this landmass, French, but they're not following.
Yeah, they're actually a French corporation.
But they're dealing with Federal Reserve notes.
I'm just letting you know. I mean,
I hear what you're saying.
United States corporation.
Well,
Target. I'm just letting
actually,
you know.
Giants is in Switzerland, the Netherlands. So I understand what you're saying.
But yeah, you could absolutely take them to court because they do business here in the United States. So they take them to court here in the United States. You can say, hey, you know what? I went to Target. I wanted that big screen TV. I gave them this piece of paper, and they said no. And see what the courts say.
Well, it's not just piece of paper. It's what's on the paper. It ain't just paper.
I try to give that. Well,
I try to give them a credit instrument.
Right.
Credit instrument.
This is a piece of paper.
Right. It's a debt instrument.
So this is a piece of paper, this is a piece of paper.
Right.
Now if I try to get my big screen TV with these pieces of paper, they'll probably accept it. If you go with it, they may not accept that. If they don't, then maybe shake them to court and say, hey, I don't understand.
So your advice is maybe go back to an attorney, get an attorney.
Yeah, you can talk to an attorney and see if they agree with your interpretation of the law.
Well,
This law is up for interpretation, as we all know. It is. That's why we have a Supreme Court for, because not everybody interprets it.
Law is cut and dry. Law ain't supposed to be Monday, then Tuesday, something else, then Wednesday, then Thursday. That's law?
No. It's just that it's open interpret, just like you have here at the end of your thing here. You have the spirituality. Now, I assume that since you have the Holy Science Temple of Nature and Spirituality, there must be some form of a text or scripture that you believe in.
Nature.
Nature, okay. Okay.
Simple. You know what nature is, right?
Absolutely.
You're natural, right?
So, some people would say that that's up to interpretation of nature. Now, there's some interpretation to the law. Some people interpret the law. Some people, back in late 60s, abortion was illegal in this country. And then somebody said, you know what? We don't agree with that interpretation of the law. We think the interpretation of the law is that a woman has a right to choose because that's her body. I don't necessarily agree with that decision. It doesn't matter. The United States Supreme Court said that's the interpretation of the law today. There was a time when the United States Supreme Court said separate but equal, and then they said you could have two separate things, so that people of color should be able to drink out of this water cooler, people not of color should drink out of that cooler.
So you're telling me the United States is lawless?
But then the Supreme Court started thinking about it again, and they said, you know what? In Brown versus Board of Education, they said no, separate is not equal. You have to be able to be just like you and I are equal, and that's what they decided.
Well, what is the law?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
A Constitution laid down law. Constitution say it's open for interpretation.
Obviously, it is up for interpretation because
you got to be ruled on it, though. You got to be ruled.
Right. So the Supreme Court has to make that decision.
But according to the document.
Exactly.
Law.
It's a legal issue, so it has to go to the courts.
So it's a legal issue.
Yes, it is. Up for interpretation of the courts. Here we have Charles, by the grace of God, King of England, Saul of France.
Now all of a sudden you choose to go through this and see.
I'm just seeing what if you have anything.
I didn't give you the whole folder. I just gave you the document.
Okay.
Oh well, you're good. You're good, man. So have you seen this? This was sent to y'all. Have y'all seen it?
I personally haven't seen it. I don't handle the. I did not think you'll see that one.
This is who it went to. It went to you, Inspector General, Treasury. This is who I deal with. Commissioner IRS. The Postmaster and the Governor. Because the governor, if you go to St. Paul Street, they're accepting Federal Reserve notes for their monthly passes too.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying to you is, according to, again, House Joint Resolution 193.
We're not accepting any Federal Reserve notes up there at the Secret Service.
No, I know that. Listen, I've been on your website. Right. I know who you are. That's what brings me to you, because you all list.
We only do financial crimes.
Huh?
We only do financial crimes. The interpretation of law is handled by the court.
What I thought is, by them not following House Joint Resolution 192 and depriving me of my goods, that y'all would be interested in that.
It's not a crime.
It's not a crime?
Unless the court decides it is. If the court decides it's a crime, then we're going to start investigating.
Well, they're actually obstructing commerce. They're obstructing commerce.
Yeah.
If I go, listen, when I go to Targets, I'm consciously putting stuff on there to discharge it. They charge me, and I'm trying to discharge it with a discharge instrument, set-off instrument.
Law, so you understand that unless you were buying that across state lines, like if you were trying to use this over the internet, then the federal government could get involved. But the federal government is only involved in interstate commerce, not intrastate. So if you go over here and you try to buy something at Target and it's here within the state, there's not much I can do about it anyway. If you order it online and you cross state lines with it, then I can become involved because I'm a federal government. You understand that? Federal government is only interstate.
guess what? When you deal with Federal Reserve notes, you're interstate.
Right, but you're saying you don't want to deal with Federal Reserve notes. You're saying you want to deal with them.